Joseph Edward Dovell, Dovell.
Okay.
Is the way to spell my...
Dovell.
What?
Dovell?
Dovell, Dovell. Dovell.
Dovell.
Dovell. Okay. When were you born?
Well, that's a question now I can't answer. It must have been in about 1897. I would say, because my mother, I was about 4 years old when she died, and I think she died in about 92.
What was her name?
Did you understand what I said?
She died in 92.
Yeah, 18 and 92.
You were 4 years old then?
Now wait, I might be mixed up there.
How old are you now? Can you tell me that?
Well, I'm considered 103 or 4 years old. Might be variation there of a hour. What I was born in the 4th or 5th of a day. You know, sometimes they set it down that way of living, where they set it down according to the regular. There's no doctor or no. When I was born, I was just in the mountains there in Virginia, and just midwife or mid-May. There was no doctor at the home when I was born, no record of it.
What county in Virginia were you born?
Huh?
What county was it?
Page
County?
Yeah.
Okay. Where did you go to school?
That's just what I thought you was going to ask me. I went to school about a month at Hannibal, Virginia, a little inland water town on the creek that come out of the Blue Ridge Mountain called Hannibal.
What was your father's name?
L.C. Dovell.
And your mother?
Sarah Catherine Dovell.
You know what her maiden name was?
Housen.
How do you spell that?
Now you got me beat, but I think it's Housden.
Okay. Then when did you come to Missouri?
1912.
First you went to Oklahoma.
Oh yeah, we'll back up and get that.
When did you go to Oklahoma? When was that?
1906.
Did you go to school in Oklahoma any?
But no, I went. I might have went a week or two. My father didn't have much of a way to get to school, and the prairie grass and stuff was high. And my younger brother, he thought might get lost, and he didn't have time to walk with us or take us to school. It was about 3 miles, and by the time I got big enough and old enough, why I was too timid, because the little kids maybe 4 years or 5 years, 6 years old, could read out of a primer, and I couldn't even read out of nothing. I was just carried back, you know, by my mother being gone, and no way. Of course, it was all, we lived out on the prairie in a little shack. It wasn't fit for a dog to live in.
Then when did you come to Missouri?
1911.
1911.
What was your family doing in Oklahoma? What brought them from Virginia to Oklahoma?
Well, it started out in Virginia, And my dad, my dad was an awfully smart man, so they said. And my grandpa was smart. But I don't know. That was before my day. And just after Mom died, the family just busted up. There's no boundary line. So I and my younger brother he was about 3 years old when she died, and I was about 6 or 7. 6, I guess.
And you said your father had been in the Civil War?
Well, just as a boy, he just rode picket to see whether the Army. I wish I could think of that. Mount Jackson, Virginia. There was a camp there where they fought, killed a lot of people. You probably have read of it if you studied history.
Which side did he fight on, do you know?
Huh?
Which side was he on, do you know?
The North or the South?
Well, he was my dad and my grandpa was with the North, but on the north side. Mason-Dixon line went through south of where we lived somewhere. Now, not too far south, but we lived in Virginia. And I think Virginia was cut in two. And we lived in the north part of it.
West Virginia?
Huh?
In West Virginia, they call it now.
Well, not exactly.
Not exactly.
You know, West Virginia fell out with Virginia because all the factories were built in the north, and the material come out of the south. And they built new stuff in, the government built new stuff in northern Virginia and up in further north in Virginia, and taking all the resource out of West Virginia and Old Virginia. But West Virginia and Virginia was one state during that time. And I don't know a thing about Kentucky and Tennessee.
Do you know anything about the service of your father and grandfather?
Well, my grandfather was a captain in Louisiana, a captain in the Army, and my father was too young. He was only about 12, 14 years old when the Civil War closed. You speaking of my dad now?
Yes.
He was about, well, you see, it lasted 4 years, and he could have been 10 and been 14 when it was over.
You said he carried messages or something, or?
He what?
He was in a part of the war. Did he go to the war?
My granddad?
Your dad?
No, he didn't know nothing about it. He just was held back, and he'd watch to see whether there's any northern soldiers, southern soldiers coming in to rob the house or drive the cattle away. He rode a horse while he called it picket, and he just went out in the mountain and see whether there's any soldiers coming in there. The soldiers would most generally steal the meat, or if he had anything to eat, and try to starve you out. And they didn't starve you out, they burnt you out. Set fire to your buildings and your stock and drove it off in the mountain. Of course, they got rid of it.
Where did you come in Missouri after you left Oklahoma?
When?
Yeah, well, you told us when, 1912?
Yeah.
Thereabouts. Where did you come to in Missouri?
Mound City.
In Holt County. Close to where I was born.
Slept in the liver barn. I worked in Oklahoma, picked cotton down there, and every damn thing you do, break cane, boom corn, and anything you could do, why, you could get a job at it. And I was just a kid without an education, and it made it bad to get a job. The only thing I give it to, by being able to get a job, that I didn't smoke or drink. I
Did you? How long did you stay around Mound City?
I spent about 12 years. Mound City, Maitland, Skidmore, Craig, Oregon.
Little town of Corning?
Huh?
There was a town, Corning, close to Craig. Corning, Missouri.
Corning, I'd been up there, but I never did work up in there.
That's where I was born, Corning.
I could get a job of work cleaning barns and cleaning chicken houses and hog houses and things like that, where somebody else wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
I never had much trouble getting a job, but I didn't get no money for it.
You told me that when World War I came along, that you were drafted. They called you
Drafted.
Drafted into service in War I as a
Yeah.
soldier. Where did you go in the Army? Where did you train?
I served it. First I went to Forest City and went from that to Jefferson City, and from Jefferson City to Waco, Texas. And then I was discharged from the Army at Camp Funston.
At Funston, Kansas.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. How long were you in the service?
not very long, about 6 or 7 months.
See, you told me when you went in. What month was that?
I think it was August the 8th, 19... Damn it.
A little while ago, you thought it was probably 1917.
Yeah.
When you first went in the Army, what kind of training did they give you?
Well, the first thing I was a cook. And I guess I was discharged as a cook. But I had most training like the other soldiers outside of... I think I had flat feet, and I couldn't march with that. And then I was short, you know, and small, little, and I guess they thought I'd do more in the kitchen as a cook than I would out in the drill field. I had to do whatever they said. It didn't make a damn bit of difference what it was.
Do you remember what the outfit was that you were in?
Well, I was considered the Depot Brigade. Now, I don't know whether you know what the Depot Brigade is or not. This man does, if he's in the Army.
Did you know what division you were in?
No division. They send their men out of that. When a man gets killed in a division, weakened, then the Depot Brigade furnished a man for that place that was weakened.
Replacement depot.
And, well, I can't... You asked me a question that I didn't answer, I couldn't answer it, I didn't answer. I don't know just what it was now.
Well, I think you answered it.
Huh?
The troops were replacement troops.
Yeah. The Depot Brigade was considered a replacement troop. And if any division was weakened and ordered men they picked the best man in their division in the Depot Brigade to fill that vacancy.
What kind of uniform did you have?
Just kind of a blank uniform like any other soldier had, only I didn't get to use it. I used.
When you were cooking, what did you have? White clothes?
Yeah.
Did you like to cook?
Well, I guess I did kind of. When we landed from Jefferson Barracks in Waco, we did, the troops got there, but the mess funds didn't. There was nothing there to eat, and all they could do was cut open a can of syrup. They had syrup, and they cut it open, and maybe you had a slice of bread to put it on, maybe you didn't. And that was about 3 days before them rations got there. You know more about that than I do.
Get hungry. Is it on?
Well, you say you were in Jefferson Barracks too?
Yeah.
Earlier Jeff said he meant Jeff Barracks, I think, because that was a recruiting station.
What was that like when you got there?
Well, just a bunch of men that didn't know shit from apple butter. Excuse me, I didn't know.
That's okay.
Oh, they were just like me, just as green as anything could be.
Were you sleeping in tents or barracks?
Huh?
Were you sleeping in tents or barracks?
Well, we had barracks, Jefferson Barracks. Had tents at Waco.
Did you go by train to Waco?
Oh, yeah. Went from Jefferson Barracks to a place in Texas. And I guess they had for some reason, they stopped there and took about 15 minutes for get orders to go ahead with a troop train, you know. They had troops on it, and maybe they had to send out a train ahead to see whether the bridges had been tampered with or anything. I don't know what held us up, but we was held up about 3 hours in Texas. I can't think of the name of that darn town that there when we went from. I know it just as well as I know my own, but
Dallas or Fort Worth?
No, we hadn't got into Texas. There where when you go out of Arkansas into Texas.
Texarkana or?
Texarkana was one place.
Huh?
Texarkana was that one town.
Texarkana is the name of it. Rocky, hilly.
Mm-hmm.
That's where we went out of Arkansas into Texas, and then we went from there to Waco. I don't know which way we went, and nothing about it.
Did you have any trouble with the flu?
Did we have any food to have trouble with?
No, trouble with flu, sickness. Flu, sick, you know.
Oh, yeah, the flu.
A lot of people had flu at that time.
Yeah, no, not at that time.
Okay.
And I don't mean to doubt your word, but that was about 2 months later, or 3, flu. I think that was some soldiers was coming back from some other camp, you know.
There was a lot of flu and pneumonia. I lost an uncle to it
They,
in civilian life.
There were some troops coming back that had been in the service, maybe not in the service, just in the army. And they brought that flu back or something. It was kind of a cold that settled, and if a man got diphtheria or typhoid with it, well, he was in pretty bad shape. And for the first day, when you get the flu, they didn't know much about it. Oh, that ain't nothing, just a cold. Pretty damn soon they was like flies, just throwing up and puking and running off the bowels. And I had to take and cook for them men, and they would inspect the food, and believe it or not, they stealed it off of a man's plate that wasn't sick. Had been in the camp with tent with one that was sick, or two or three, and then they quarantined the whole outfit for trying to stop it. And a man that wasn't exactly sick. And it generally took about 3 days to stop that diarrhea or stop the
Fever?
well, they'd either have diarrhea or, damn it, I can't call the name of it. You know.
Vomiting.
Huh?
Vomiting or throwing up, puking?
Diarrhea was one of the first. Indigestion trouble, couldn't crap otherwise. And when either one, they took about 3 days to make a change. And the doctors would say, now nothing but broth, nothing but broth. That's all I cook. And I had to strain it through a cloth to make just broth. And they get so damn mad, one that was practically well, he gets so mad because they had to give him a broth that he was ready to fight, and they still had a table made and put the food on it and take it around from tent to tent. Where they're so bad off.
Ask about his brother that died.
Yeah, what was your brother's name who was in the Army?
Deputy Dovell, Tazewell. I don't know whether you can say it or not.
Tazewell? Do you know what outfit he was in?
35th.
35th Division. And you say he was killed in the Argonne?
Yeah. I don't know whether that broke up or not after it. I don't know whether he was killed under Kaiser or Hitler. You guys read a lot, you probably remember for
That had been under the Kaiser's reign. At the time of the Kaiser.
It was a Kaiser?
At that time, yes.
Well, I just didn't know whether Hitler was a ruler at that time or the Kaiser.
Well, Hitler came quite a little later.
Huh?
Hitler came along later.
Yeah.
When he was running things, World War I, he was a corporal.
Well, anyway, that's when he was killed. And you guys, can you turn that thing off for a second?
If you want to.
Well, no, the Army did a lot of fellows a lot of good. And it made cooks out of a lot of them. Now, the worst thing about the Army that I could see while I was in there and while I was out, if a guy was pretty well off, he'd go buy another section of land, a half section, at a high price. Land got awfully high. And he'd go buy another section of land to keep his kids out of the Army. And then when the war was over, the land went down to nothing. and he had to sell out or lose his farm. And you guys don't probably never had the experience or never seen it, but there's lots and lots of guys that was getting along pretty good, not good, but getting along before the war, feeding the family and sending the kids to school and doing all right. And then when the war broke out, why they just afraid they was going to lose their son, so they got out and bought some high-priced land. Land got to about $300 and some right in this country, and they sold for 20 and 30 after not too long ago. Pretty good farm. I bought a little land for about $35 an acre.
Whereabouts was that?
Whereabouts is it?
Where was it?
My boy lives on it down here in Maitland. Just only 80 acres.
There's a lot of pretty good land around Maitland.
Well, it's about as good as the average land. It's considered about as good a dirt as Missouri has, except in the bottom. But him and I together have got a farm down there that we put together, put about 305 acres of it. He's got it now.
How old is he?
69.
69.
His birthday was the 24th of August. But he's sick. He smoked too much, drank too much, and played with the women too much.
Did you ever smoke?
Oh, no. You might say I did for a while, but everywhere you go, do you smoke? If I say, no, I don't, they give me a job. We don't want someone that smokes because we got a barn and a house, and we don't want it burnt down by somebody throwing a cigarette down, and I ain't gonna hire nobody that smokes. So I had to say no to get a job. And I couldn't smoke. But I bought a bunch of cigarettes in Mountain City one time, 3 for a quarter, 3 packs. I thought that'd do me a week. And going home, I was walking up the road where I was working, and going up the road, I think when I spent all my money, worse off than it was when we went to town. I said, I'm going to quit smoking. And I think, what am I going to do with these cigarettes? So I just decided, I took my pack out of my pockets and just tore them half in two. And every time I stepped, I threw one down. Tried to. And that ended the smoking.
And when was that?
Where was it?
When?
Oh, I can't tell you the year exactly. I must have been about 17, 18.
Was it while you were in the Army, or?
No, that was after.
After.
Damn if I can tell you. Now that's what I ain't. I can't tell you whether that was.
While you were bringing equipment in, Joe was telling me that the Army was good for some people and bad for some, but his experience was a lot of them came home diseased with venereal disease. Mm-hmm. And he thought that if sporting houses were set up outside of camps, the officers were getting some cream off of it, skimming money or something of this type. But he thought there was an awful lot of disease brought back from the Army.
Yeah.
Well, it makes you know, and set the wife afar and set the kids. Some of them afflicted. Of course, they've been afflicted kids born for, ever since they've been born and raising kids. But I know of 3 or 4 cases where a man prayed the niggers when he's in the camp, and of course he died shortly, about 4 years after he come back from the service. But I know what was wrong, he played the wrong woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and
Did you ever marry?
what?
Were you ever married? You got a granddaughter here. You had children.
Yeah,
How many children did you have?
one.
Just one?
Did you have any other brothers in the war besides the one?
Well, I had an older brother that was in the war a good while, but he was out before the war broke out. He'd been in, maybe 10 or 12 years before that.
Huh.
He joined the Army, Cumberland, Maryland. But that don't mean nothing either. That's a long ways from here.
Where was it?
Cumberland.
Cumberland?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any pictures of yourself in uniform from World War I?
No, sir. I don't. Oh.
Or your brother?
Huh?
Your brother who was killed, do you have his picture anywhere in uniform?
I don't have any here. I might have some pictures like that, like you're speaking of, down in my house at Maitland. But since I got sick, they brought all the pictures up there of some of the folks. But after I had to go out, and ain't nobody lives in the house, you know. You can't tell what might happen.
Mm-hmm.
What service were you in?
Artillery.
Artillery. What branch, heavy or light?
Well, I guess you'd call it light. Direct support.
Well, I heard that them somewhere when they started to take over the Japanese, where the Japanese when it had took over the country back there, I heard they took boats. You know what kind of boat I'm speaking of.
Battleships.
They put them on a big boat and take them about as close to shore as they could take them, and then unload them in these boats that would run up to the close to the bank and wouldn't hit no rocks or nothing to destroy, and unload them. And I've heard they unloaded hundreds of men. They couldn't swim out, so thought the water was shallow enough that they could wade out. But when they dumped them men out of the, what was that called, that boat?
A landing ship.
Landing ship. Well,
They'd run up as far as they can, let the front end down, then they could drive out. Or run out, men run out, or...
well, I heard there was hundreds of men drowned when they put them out in that water, and it was deeper than they thought. Do you know anything about that being true?
I know that some accidents happen, but I've never known of any amount hurt that way. No large incident of it. But I'm sure as many of them that were unloaded, that there were some had accidents.
Well,
but I don't think it was any great number.
Well, I've heard that. I didn't know whether there was any truth in it or not. But those landing ships, that big ship would take them in about 3 to 10 miles of the shore.
Well, they'd be in, a lot of them would get clear where the front end, when they let it down, would lay down on dry land and they'd just drive across. Others, there'd be a foot or so of water, say. But they wouldn't let them out in very deep water. They'd know how deep the water was. They run the boat as long as they could. Run it in. They were flat-bottom boats.
Yeah. Well, I heard that. I couldn't.
Well, I know there were a lot of rumors, and I expect what you heard was rumors probably.
Yeah, might have been. Well, I tell you, there's lots of things that went on that people couldn't imagine it did. And it was, I don't know where the war, do you think it started new activity in the farming situation and in the buildings?
I don't understand your question. What is your question?
I said, do you think the war started new ideas about farming and people farmed with horses and things, you know, no machinery? And after the war, well, they started up because they had to have different machinery in order to do anything during the war. And before they just went along with two-row plow or one row.
Well, when they had shortages of food, they developed new ways of raising food, and they raised quite a lot, and it brought about new developments, new machinery. They had more people to feed after the war, and they had to improve their methods.
Well, I didn't know whether that war, I think Germany was considered one of the smartest countries that we had to make machinery and make stuff. And it wasn't long until this country was right up making, hell, they never heard of a combine or a 10 or 15 row lister. They can put in more crop in a day now than we used to be able to put in a week.
That's right.
So I wondered if the war
speeded up the development. I think so.
You think it did?
Mm-hmm.
I kind of felt like it did myself.
There was pressure to raise more food quickly, and people worked on a way to do it and developed new equipment and new ways.
Well, I kind of felt that because I farmed with in Virginia when we used a single shovel and made a corn in check rows, and have to run 3 times in a row in order to make that single shovel and put dirt up where you want it. You'd run one row up close to the row on this side, and over here in close to it, you get another one in the middle. And it was about a 5-inch shovel, maybe a 6, you know what I mean, but wide. But my goodness, if they had to do that today, what could they do?
Well, some people would starve because they just couldn't raise enough food for all of the population.
You think the population has increased?
Oh, yes. A lot more people now.
Well, they don't show it in our little towns, but the big towns eat them up.
You go to the cities and there's many, many more.
Well, they got so much more work now, working on machinery and building machinery and stuff.
Building roads.
It might be that the war might have been a better thing than you give it credit for being.
Well, I have a hard time thinking it was the best way. Surely there is a better way than having a war.
Yeah, I would think there would be. I sure would hope that they get where they can get along.
Joe was telling me when you were bringing this in that he thought war was bad enough they needed to find a way to have no war.
Hear you what?
Said I was telling him, you told me that you thought war was a bad thing and that we needed to find a way to have no war. While he was out bringing in the camera, you would tell me how you thought war was a bad thing.
Well, it's a bad thing to take a father away from his child and let that child grow up without a dad, because if it's unnecessary it's better that they kill the father and they would have the home taken away from them and starve them to death. But at the same time, it's a bad thing to have a war and kill people off. But if they don't, what's going to happen? If there's no war and disease was to take over, what do you think would be the results?
Well, we have to find ways to control disease. We have a new enemy, disease, a different enemy. We still have to find ways to control the disease, just like we find ways to control weeds.
Well, above me, I have no idea what could be done to better the conditions. I thought if they do away with war, well, that would better conditions for people to live and live peaceable. But I don't know. If it takes war to get people to working and build equipment to ships and stuff and airplanes and things like that, it seems right now that they're needed, whether they are or not. Well, I wish I had brains enough to tell you a little bit about life outside of the war, but then I don't.
Well, you've had some interesting things. Do you have anything left from the war, like pieces of your uniform or?
No, I don't. When I come out of the war, I was single for a long time, and I could pack my suitcase and go from one place to the other. And I like to travel. I like to see the country. And whenever I had money enough, in the place of putting it in something I had to have, I'd take a trip and see what it's like. I couldn't read a book and get anything out of it. My mind just wouldn't focus on reading. I lived too long or something like that. It was in there, but to get anything interested, I couldn't do it. And if I wanted to see something that I thought was a benefit to my living, well, I had to go see it. So every time I had $100 or so saved up, well, after the busy season's over, I used to like to shuck corn and pick apples and things like that. And I could make quite a bit of money sometimes picking apples and shucking corn. And then after the snow come on, I'd go places in Texas or California, or I was down in old Mexico. Madam Morris, I don't know whether you ever been there or not.
I've been there.
Quite a place, ain't it?
Across the border from Las Cruces.
I had a sister that married a guy in Dallas, Texas. He was an FBI man, and he was well educated, and he was kind of stationed. I guess the FBI man ain't stationed no certain place, but his wife lived in Texas, and then later they went to Europe. He bought right-of-ways for airplanes, examined abstracts and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about. But I would come back from Mexico and see my sister.
How long were you in Mexico?
Oh, about 2 weeks. That's a funny country.
Did you ever go back into the Army?
No. I couldn't have got back if I wanted to. I told this man that I belonged to a church that didn't believe in killing. And the Bible says, "I shall not kill." And I belonged to that church. I belonged to it since I was about 12 years old. And boy, to go out and kill, that was strictly against my belief. And I had an awful pressure because I was blamed for being yellow and blamed for trying to uphold the Bible. And they don't care much for a man that's in the Army that don't want to fight. And I think that's one reason I got to be a cook.
What church did you belong to?
Huh?
What church did you belong to?
Well, I don't know what church it was.
Methodist or Baptist or?
I belonged to the Quakers, Lutheran, and the Duncans. Now, if you can tell me which one it was, some of them stayed with the Quakers, and some of them stayed with the Duncans. And the Duncans, the brethren, it was considered an offspring of the three denominations. I don't know whether you know what I'm talking about or not.
Well, a little bit, but not much.
Well, you know, the churches will split and pull apart, and some will have one faith and some the other. And the Bible says that thou shalt not kill and enter the kingdom of heaven. And I thought, I joined this church, and I thought I was tearing down everything that church had built up. But it just don't seem right now. My brother, he believed in killing. He joined the Army when it first broke out in 1916. And he believed in killing people. He said, them Germans over there, they had to go in, you know, that they'd take and stick a Bennett in those Belgium girls to get people mad and get them, rile them up, and all, how the Kaiser was treating them, the German army was treating those young girls, just take them and make them and then kill them and stuff like that. And I just doubt whatever happened. But you know, they've got to get you mad. If they don't get you mad, you can't fight. And my brother got so mad that you didn't want to mention not being able, not believing in war around him.
Did you have more than one brother?
Yeah, I had. That's 2, 4. There were 8 children when Mom died. And Dad was working in the mountains prospecting for iron and ore for some iron company. Contracts with big companies in Maryland that bought up iron right away and the timber right away in the mountains. And he worked for some of them. Certain timber they would let you cut for wood, and other timber you couldn't cut. Even if you had the deed for the land, they had the right of way, bought the right of way, and made it pretty hard on a fellow that let a tree grow for a sawmill, and then it belonged to them. You couldn't do nothing with it. I don't know whether that's been done away with. I don't suppose they could change that deed. If they got a deed for it, that's just the same.
Be hard to do.
Yeah, I think it would be. Well, lots of that land back there is owned by some big lumber company or mining company.
We've sure appreciated visiting with you.
Well,
Hope you haven't got too tired or anything of that type.
I don't know. I don't know what I could say to you that was any benefit, because what was good yesterday may not be good tomorrow.
Well, we learned a little more about what it was like in the past.
And you what?
We learned a little bit about what it was like in the past, and we maybe learned from it. Maybe we can be better off in the future for having learned something.
Well,
about
I
the
tell
past.
you, they were having a rough time in the past before the war. People were homesteading and living in dugout houses and not having enough to eat to feed their families. And
This was in Oklahoma.
yeah, down in Oklahoma. And I was born in Virginia, and hell, there's 8 kids, and we had a rough time. After Mom died, it was, maybe you had clabber milk, and maybe you didn't have any at all for breakfast.
How old were you when she died?
How old was I when Mom died?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think I was about 6 or 7. Maybe not quite that old. And my younger brother he was 2 years younger than I was. If I was 6, he'd have been 4, and if, right in there. Oh, it was rough going, and if you cleared off some new ground up in the mountains, or if you could find a place that didn't wash too bad. Now that Blue Ridge Mountain, when you get on top of it, it's level, but not too far. You go up on top of the mountain and then you start downhill to Washington, D.C., or wherever you got to cross the Blue Ridge Mountain to get over to the other end. And down south, well, there's a mountain around down there. It's about the same as Blue Ridge Mountain. And out in California, about the same, you know. Mm-hmm. You get in there and you got a rough time.
I still kind of wish you'd tell us that story about your brother for the camera. I still wish you'd tell us that story for the camera about your brother. And I think that's really interesting.
Well, they would only consider that a man's lying.
I don't think so.
They would only, that would be all they would say, well, he's lying, and I don't know whether it was or not, but he took a hold of my sheet and moved it and woke me up and had a few words, you know, and he said, I got mine today. And he says, oh, 2 or 3 words, and I reached out to put my hand on him, and he says, don't touch me. And I don't, of course, you know, there wouldn't have been nothing there to touch with their spirit. You know, I think I've had him the same experience the other way, time or two with my wife after she died. Maybe not he was there, but it may not be anything to it. I'd hate if somebody said, oh, that guy is nuts. And no doubt I was, and no doubt I am. But that don't make a difference, does it?
No.
Not a bit.
But you were a soldier down in Waco, Texas at the time?
He died.
Yeah.
No, I might, yes, I was in Waco, Texas. Yeah, I was in bed on my cot in the Army when he come to me. Or the spirit, whatever it was, come and told me that he got killed that day.
And you got notification later?
Yeah. It took about 2 weeks for the Army to notify me. We had our insurance made to one another. Huh. And now, it wasn't a matter of fact that we thought more of one another, but we was two little boys growing up without any support from anywhere, you know. If we had something to eat, we had it to eat, and if we didn't, we had to do something else. Oh, I tell you, talk about something bad. When a family is left with a bunch of children with no income and has to be fed, it's a hard situation. And you know, I've had people to make fun of me all my life because I couldn't read and write.
Yeah.
And I used to try to go with some girls that I kind of liked the look of them, and I thought they were pretty nice. Maybe get 1 or 2 dates in there, ask them for another. Mom won't let me go with you. Dad won't let me go with you because I didn't have no home, didn't have no money, and this and that. Throw it up to me that they drive with a big car and big mortgage on it, take them somewhere and spend the money. And their dad would mortgage his farm to buy and fix it her so his son could go with this and that. Well, that put me in the shade damn fast. And those guys that made all kinds of fun of me, I might be just as well off as they are.
Could be.
You're still here.
I might be just as well off as they are.
I bet you had and still have better health.
I'll tell you something you ain't gonna believe. A girl that I liked pretty well got married and had quite a nice little family, and her man wasn't worth shooting, but nobody shot him. Not just the one, but several of them. And they take up it's been quite a long time ago. Bad weather and they couldn't get enough to eat, didn't have a family, and they'd go around and take up a collection to get them. And I've had the bad luck or the luck to throw in a little money or something, give them a half a beef or half a hog at Mountain City Way. I had a girlfriend that lived down there that her and I were maybe what you call sweethearts. And she got married a fellow that had pretty good, looked like a pretty good setup, Englishman. And all he was just a puff of wind. And he went down the river with the Depression, and they just damn near starved. Well, I donate money to them. I think it was because I still liked her. But you know how a thing like that could work on a guy. And we talked about it a little bit. When I wanted to go with her dad wouldn't let her, and mother wouldn't let her go with me because I didn't have nothing, and they had everything set up for just walk in, and when the person hit, why, they went down the road.
What do you attribute your long life to?
Well, now you asked me a question that I just can't hardly answer. I'd come as near telling you as I can, is being kind of halfway honest. When I've told a man I'd do something, borrow money from him, or borrow money from the bank, pay it. Not argue around and figure some way that I was going to pay that money when it come due. And I always met my nose and paper that I had out, and I've helped a lot of people that couldn't do something, and after you let them have feed to feed the horses or money to buy feed with, why they would say, oh, I ain't gonna pay him, he done so and so. And I hear them make that remark, you know. They wanted to get out of it. And they did get out of them. They died still owing me. But in a way, I didn't feel sorry for them when they died. I thought they were getting rid of. And I don't know what. I've had good health and was able to work until I was about 95 years old. I know you ain't gonna hardly believe this, but I've shook corn by hand and shook 147 bushels in a day and scoop off 2 loads. And you know that's damn near as good as a picker do sometimes a day. If you have a little bad luck with it. Oh, I worked like hell, I was crazy. A man worked like I did, he had to be crazy, didn't he?
Well, you'd have felt worse if you had to.
Well, I liked money, and in order to get money, I had to work. There was nobody going to hand it out to me. But that roughness makes some bumps on them and don't rub off too easy.
When you went in the Army, were you drafted or did you enlist?
Huh?
When you went in the Army, were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
Okay.
I just told you that they belonged to a church that didn't believe in war, and an army. They ain't got no use for a man that don't want to fight and protect this country. And that's a bad law. The United States had never have a law like that, because it makes enemies, because a man went to church and a man that didn't believe, that man believed when he was going to church is right. I believe kind of, if I could be as straight as I ought to, I could get through the purser's gate. Mm-hmm. But if I'd go out and kill somebody, and the Bible says thou shalt not kill, well, I'd throw away that. That right would be gone just as quick as I threw it away. Here comes the country along, says you got to fight. Well, now who are you going to divide? Your spirit, your heavenly home, or a home on land? And it's a question. If that ain't a true law, if that ain't the Bible, it ought to be taken out of it, don't you think? That ain't right, because you got just the right to believe the Bible as I have. Mm-hmm. And if your Bible tells you that you mustn't kill, that's your Bible, and you look open it, and it's the same King James Bible, same thing. Well, they don't want a man in the army that can't fight and kill and shoot or do anything else. But I'm satisfied that I did more good in the army the way it was than it would have been if I would have went out and killed somebody.
Good cook. That'd be making a major contribution.
Well, I ain't proud of it. I don't believe in that living off the other man. And whenever the other man gives his life and you live off of what freedom because he gives his life, when you should have been giving yours too, or to putting it up for market. One guy's got just as much right to die for this country as another. And I don't believe it's right for one to be having an exemption and the other not. But
Somebody had to cook and you did it.
Huh?
Somebody had to cook and you did it. You were part as much as anybody. Somebody had to
everybody, I've had them to come back for a month or 2 months just to eat Sunday. On Sunday, have a meal at my table where I was cook. And they all seemed to like it awful well.
Sounds to me like you were a good cook.
Well, I had to be a good cook. They'd probably took me out and hung me if I wasn't. But I got up about 1 o'clock at night during the flu. Call boy would call me at 1 o'clock at night to start cooking for the sick people. Next morning from breakfast, boil it and take the broth. You know, just use the broth to feed them.
You did your part.
Well, I don't know whether it come in parts or not. Anyway, I'm a living, and something's been on my side a little bit.
Well, thank you for letting us come to interview you.
Well, I wish I could remember, but I've forgot so much of Army life and civilian life too.
Well, you remembered quite a bit. Turn it off here.
Derogatory to you.
But I still don't like the irony of a man not fighting for his country.
But they can't all fight for it.
Huh?
You can't fight all. Some of them got to stay at home and grow the corn. They can't all be in the army. Do you watch a lot of television?
Oh, I watch it some. I don't. They talk too much over my head. I like to see the girls and boys when they were young trying to decoy off to love one another. You don't care nothing about that.
Let's see here.
Oh, it's nice.